Hello and welcome to Unit 4, Day 5. These are going to be notes on writing the equation of a line in standard form. So just as a reminder, our slope-intercept form requires the use of a slope and an intercept. So here M is our slope and B is our y-intercept. Point-slope form is the form that we use where we can identify a point. The point we're talking about is x sub 1, y sub 1. Here's x sub 1, here's y sub 1, and again, the slope. We need a point and a slope. And the third type of a line equation that we're going to talk about for this unit is standard form. So why would we use the standard form? It's helpful if we want to quickly find x and y intercepts. All right, so we've got some rules about standard form. Standard form is written as ax plus by equals c. This is not the same as little b, not little b, right? Because we already use little b as the intercept, so we are not talking about the y-intercept here. This is different. Just be aware of that. All right, so ax plus by equals c. When we write standard form, a and b and c all have to be integers. We can't have fractions, we can't have decimals. A has to be positive. And you can have A or B be 0, but only one of them can be 0. They can't both be 0. Okay, finally, you can't have A, B, and C all have the same common factor other than 1. And I'll give you some examples of what I mean by that. All right, so if we want to just find the x and y intercepts given a standard form, to find the x-intercept, remember that is what is the value of x when you are on the actual axis. Sorry, so what is the value of x when you are on that x-axis? That means you'll have a value for x, but y has to be 0, right? So to find the x-intercept, plug in 0 for y, and then solve for x, okay? We know that the x-intercept is always going to be some number, and then your y has to be 0. All right, if my formula equation is 3x plus 4y equals 24, and I know y is 0, I know that's 3x plus 4 times 0 equals 24. I know that goes away, so 3x equals 24, and the x has to be 8. The ordered pair then is going to be 8, 0. That is my x-intercept. Sliding down a little bit there. My y-intercept is when I have x equal to 0, right? X is going to be 0, and I'm going to need some number in the y spot of my ordered pair. So let's find the y-intercept here. I have 3x plus 4y equals 24, and I know x is 0, so I have 3 times 0 plus 4y equals 24. That goes away. 4y equals 24, and y equals 6. And I know if y equals 6, I know x equals 0, so my ordered pair will be 0, 6. Okay, so I now have 2 points, so I can draw a line with 2 points. And these 2 points that I have are the intercepts. So what we're going to do is plot these 2 points. I have a point at 8, 0, and a point at 0, 6. And then I will generally try to use a straight edge to make a nice line there. Okay, that is the line I'm looking for. So we can go back and forth between our forms of a line. You already know this because we have used point slope to find the slope-intercept form, right? So if we want to convert standard form, ax plus by equals c, to slope-intercept form, that's y equals mx plus b, where this b is different, don't forget, then all I need to do with my standard form is isolate that y. We are going to solve for y. Okay, let's go ahead and think about why we might be able to do that. Converting standard form to slope-intercept form is going to help us find the slope even more easily, and the y-intercept more easily as well. So let's take a look at the rest. Okay, so for each of the following equations that are given to us in standard form, we're going to find the slope and the y-intercept by rewriting into slope-intercept form. So remember slope-intercept form, we want y equals mx plus b. I'm going to solve for y. So I'll subtract 3x from each side, and I get 8y equals negative 3x plus 40. And then I'm going to divide every single term by 8. So I can see my slope right away, right? But I'm finding the slope and the y-intercept. My slope right away is negative 3/8. And then I need to simplify to get to my y-intercept. Negative 3/8 x plus 5. I can see that my y-intercept is 5. Try problem 3 on your own and pause the video and then come back and see if you got number 3 correct. So again, if I need to find the slope and the y-intercept, I'm going to solve for y. And then I'm going to make sure I'm arranged in y equals mx plus b format. I'll subtract 14x from each side. So I have 7y equals negative 14x minus 2. I'm going to divide every single term by 7. Don't forget, you have to divide every single term by 7. So I get y equals negative 2x minus 2/7. I can see my slope is negative 2, and my y-intercept is negative 2/7. Okay, so let's think in general. What do we know then when we solve for the slope and the y-intercept? Let's just do a complete literal equation. I'm going to solve for y, and I want to end up with y equals mx plus b format, right? I'm going to subtract ax from each side. So I have capital B y equals negative ax plus c, and I'm going to divide every single term by b. Now I've solved, and I know y equals negative a over b x plus c over b. See how we can find the slope? Slope is always equal to then negative a over b, right? And the y-intercept is always going to be equal to c over b. So we'll write this down here. The slope is negative a over b, and the y-intercept is c over b. Okay, let's check and see if that is what really happened up above. If I know over here a equals 3 and b equals 8, right? I just took them straight from my equation. Then if my slope is negative a over b, my slope would be negative 3 over 8. And if my y-intercept is c over b, my y-intercept is c over b. C was 40 over 8, it equals 5. You can see that it is true. If you check that out on our other example, you can see that it is true as well. Okay, so your turn. Please try these next problems, and you're going to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept, and then you're going to convert each equation to slope-intercept form and graph it. All right, to convert this equation to slope-intercept form, I want to have y all alone. So I'm going to subtract 5x from each side, and I'm going to start there. I'll have negative 6y equals negative 5x plus 30. Then I'm going to divide every single term by negative 6. So I have y equals positive 5/6 x minus 5. Okay, to find my x-intercept, remember y equals 0. If y equals 0, then I know 5x equals 30 and x equals 6. So in this case, we're back to wanting to have our intercepts in ordered pairs. I have 6, 0. Okay, my y-intercept, I know that x equals 0. So if x equals 0, then I have negative 6y equals 30, y equals negative 5. So I just said I'm defining this as the spot where x is 0. So I have 0 in my ordered pair and negative 5. Okay, I now have 2 points, so I can say 0, negative 5, and I can say 6, 0. And I can draw a line straight from those 2 points, or I could have used negative 5 as my starting point from the slope-intercept and go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2 different ways that you can graph this. All right. Try number 6, come back and see if you got it right. When we do number 6, we want to get y all by itself because we are converting to slope-intercept form. And so I'm going to subtract 4x from each side. I have 8y equals negative 4x plus 12. Then I'm going to divide every single term by 8. So I have y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3/2. Okay, and if I want my x-intercept, I know the y has to be 0. So if y is 0, I have 4x equals 12 or x equals 3. So my x-intercept is going to be 3, 0 as an ordered pair. For my y-intercept, the x has to be 0. So I come back up and I look, and I have 8y equals 12. If x is 0, I'm going to be left with 8y equals 12, and y equals 12/8, which equals 3/2. Okay, so my ordered pair would be 0 and 3/2. All right, so I can plot these 2 points. I have 3, 0, and I have 0, and 3/2, that's 1.5, right? So I'm going to be at 1.5 right there. Okay. I also could have used my slope-intercept form. I could have started at 3/2 and gone down 1 and over 2. That's a little bit harder to see on something like this because down 1 is going to be at 1/2, and then over 2 is going to be roughly inside there. So just be careful when you've got halves, and that's not what your gradations are. All right, so that is essentially what our line looks like. Okay, finally, we're going to convert to standard form. So what we need to do is rearrange our equations, and we want to convert to standard form so that we end up with ax plus by equals c. Once we do that, we want to take a look at what we've got for a and b and c and make sure that we are following all of our rules. All right, so specifically, we're going to simplify both sides of the equation we are given if we need to. And then we want to move x and y, whatever those terms are, to the left-hand side of the equation and multiply the entire equation so that you get rid of any fractions or decimals. Okay? All right, so you also might have to multiply by -1 to make sure that your a value is going to be positive. Just lots of rules to remember. All right, we want to simplify both sides here. They are already simplified. Check. Then we want to move x and y to the left-hand side. Y is already on the left, so I'm going to subtract 3x to get the x term on the left side. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and write this -3x plus y equals 7, so that I've already got my x term first, and then my y term, and then my constant. All right, so my rules say, remember, that a can't be negative, right? I also can't have any fractions. So far, no fractions, no worries, right? But if I can't have a be negative, then what I'm going to do is multiply the entire thing by -1. Okay, so -1 times -3x is going to be 3x. -1 times y is going to be -y. And -1 times 7 is going to be -7. Okay, it's equivalent, it's just that I changed it so that my a term has to be positive. All right, so a is positive, and a and b and c, they're all integers, right? I have a is 3, b is -1, and c is -7. All right, so let's look at number 8 here. Number 8 has fractions, and I don't want any fractions. So we've talked about this before. The way to get rid of a denominator is to multiply by that denominator. I'm going to multiply every single term by 2 so that I can get rid of that fraction. Okay, so I'm going to multiply 2 times 1/2, and I get x. 2 times -3, and I get -6 times y. And 2 times -7 is -14. So make sure that you feel comfortable with me multiplying the entire equation by 2 there. We so far haven't really shown that we're multiplying absolutely everything in an equation by a number. So this is what I mean, every single term. All right, now I'm going to check my rules. A has to be positive. A is 1, check. A, B, and C are integers, 1, -6, -14, and then I am in my form AX plus BY equals C. So I'm good. All right, on this last one, I need to simplify this time, so I'm going to simplify. This, you can see, came to you in point slope form, right? So let's go ahead and simplify. I'm going to have y minus 4 equals -2x minus 6. Next thing I want to do is move x and y to the left side. So I'll add 2x to each side. 2x plus y minus 4 equals -6. And I need to get this into ax plus by equals c format. So I'm going to add 4 to each side. I have 2x plus y equals -2. And then I just want to make sure I'm following my rules. A is positive, and I have only integers. I don't have any fractions. So I am good to go. We'll finish the very last couple of problems in a different video. And so stay tuned, pop back in, and see how you're doing.